All right, we are live.
All right. Hello, my name is Adam Zimkowski. On behalf of Councilmember Kshama Sawant and everybody in our office, I want to thank you for joining us for the public meeting to tell City Council that we support progressive taxation. We support taxing big business, but we want to make sure that we do it without preempting or in any way watering down or limiting the critical Amazon tax victory that our movement, together with the support, of course, of Kshama Sawant and our office, that we won as a movement just last year. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. We are, of course, going to be preparing and building up for the 2 p.m. Full council, Seattle City Council meeting, where the City Council will be voting on a resolution put forward by our movement, by Councilmember Kshama Sawant, for a vote to basically reiterate just that, support for progressive taxation, but without limiting or watering down or in any way impinging on the Amazon tax victory that we just won. I know many of you who are watching right now have watched before, are familiar with signing up for public comment, but I also, hopefully there's many of you who are not familiar, who are new to this struggle. And so to that end, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Nick Jones, who is going to show you the website for how to sign up for public comment. Public comment won't open up until noon. That's in about 27 minutes. But we're going to have Nick just show you where we're going to be taking you at the very end of this meeting so that people are all ready. Hopefully you can open up a tab and have things all set to go. The minute public comment opens up, we want to have as many people signing up as possible, get a real good, strong pressure, on the council from the first public commenter on. So Nick, go ahead and show people how to sign up, and then we'll come back and we'll provide some political context and have a conversation about how we can prepare. Go ahead, Nick.
All right, thanks, Adam. Folks should be able to see my screen now. Hopefully this is a very familiar screen to folks at this point, but not just to reiterate what Adam said, definitely if you can, open a tab, have this page ready for the end of this meeting when the public sign up is going to go live, so we can really make sure our movement's voice is really at the forefront of this meeting that's going to happen at 2 p.m. To get here, if folks don't know, I always just go to type in Seattle public comment in any search bar of whatever internet browser you're using, Chrome, Firefox, Explorer, whatever, it should all work. And it should be this first link here, this public comment, seattle.gov. You should be able to just click that, and it will bring you right to the web page where the form will go live right at noon. So you scroll down, you'll see that right here, currently sign up is closed, but it will open right when the clock strikes 12 ideally. So we'll come back to this at the end of the meeting. We can kind of go through this together one last time and make sure we're all prepared to make a politically strong public comment before the council today. So yeah, take a moment to do this so we can all be on the same page and ready to go later in this meeting. And hopefully we can all do this together in about 20 minutes. So with that, I'm going to send it back to Adam now, and we can move on with this community meeting.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate your going through that with people. And yeah, I just want to, oftentimes or usually Councilmember Sawant is able to join us for these meetings. It's still unclear as to whether or not she will be able to do that. They're still in council briefing. And so depending on how that goes, we may or may not get some political context from Councilmember Sawant, which is of course always super helpful. Whether or not she's able to join, we will go through some of this political context. We'll take a look at the resolution itself, see what it says. We'll talk a little bit about what the council members themselves are saying, what we expect to hear during the full council meeting. But of course, as a movement, we recognize that this is just one step. This is just one, a part of a longer struggle and we want to talk about, why the Amazon tax is so important, the impact that it's had so far, how we won it, of course, because that's critical to understanding how we're going to defend it. And then, of course, understanding why it's so important to fight for more progressive taxes, for more taxes on big business, on billionaires, on people reaping tremendous capital gains profits, for example. So we're going to go through all that in the course of this meeting. And again, hopefully Councilmember Sawant will be able to join us for that. As to kind of begin things, why don't we go ahead and hopefully Nick or Sasha, we can go ahead and share the screenshot of the resolution itself. We're not going to read the whole resolution, but I do want to kind of pick out certain points of it, highlight certain things, and hopefully if we're able to share that and put the link in the chat, then others can also go through and read. But essentially, what we're asking is for the city council to listen to the voices of hundreds of people. I believe in the last couple of weeks or the last week, we've gotten more than 250 emails from ordinary people, part of this Tax Amazon movement, to city council saying that they should support this resolution. And what it does, is we want to start off by affirming our support for progressive big business taxes to fund essential community needs, urging the Washington State Legislature to enact statewide taxes on big business and the rich, but without preemption or any other ban, limitation, or phasing out of Seattle's ability to raise revenue through local big business taxes or progressive revenue sources. And that's super important for a number of reasons. Again, I'm not going to go through everything here, and I want to get Nick's input, Sasha's input, but we're looking at a situation, as the resolution says, where Washington State has the most regressive tax structure. If you've joined our meetings before, if you've been part of the Tax Amazon movement, you've likely heard that the poorest 20% of families are paying nearly 18% of their income, whereas the richest 1% pay only 3%. That is egregious. It's criminal in reality, and especially during the COVID-19 crisis, when we're seeing, what we call pandemic profiteers like Jeff Bezos literally making billions upon billions of dollars while working people suffer real need, renters, people being laid off for extended periods of time. So the city council that, passed the Amazon tax, which, is expected to generate $214 million of actual concrete revenue right now for this year. And that's going to departments and programs that ordinary people need. It's going to COVID-19 relief. And so even the thought that state representatives, and this is with the Democrats controlling the House, controlling the Senate, having the governorship, that even the very thought that this Amazon tax would be in the crosshairs, would be on the table for negotiation, is itself quite egregious. But that is exactly what some state representatives, progressives, from the Democratic Party indicated in January. There was a Crosscut article that came out, and it's right here in the resolution that said, Crosscut reported that state legislators were concerned that a progressive big business tax would be a quote, double tax on big business. It goes on to talk about how egregious that is, given how many taxes working people pay, given the pandemic profiteering, given the fact that big business is making money hands over fist. So what the resolution indicates, and if we can scroll down, what exactly are we calling on city council members to do today when they're voting yes, hopefully with our pressure, when they're voting yes on this resolution? It's to essentially support progressive taxation, support the taxation which the Seattle City Council voted for with the Amazon tax, on taxing big business to fund housing, the Green New Deal, other essential services. We're calling on the state legislature to enact similar progressive taxation on corporate payroll, but without in any way preempting or banning or limiting Seattle's own ability to raise revenue. And we know that this is something last year that big business really, really fought for. They weren't able to get it done. But we also know, as we said before, that state representatives appear willing to be, to negotiate that. And so our movement, we want to make abundantly clear that we are not willing to negotiate that. I want to move on. So the resolution itself is very basic in the sense that it supports progressive taxation. It says don't in any way undercut what's already been passed by our movement. I want to hear now from, obviously many of the people watching today participated in the Amazon tax movement. I want to hear from, maybe we can start with Sasha. Sasha, if you could articulate a little bit, why is the Amazon tax, important? What did the movement that fought for and won this Amazon tax look like? And what are some of the things that, that we could do, both with this Amazon tax, but potentially if the state reps actually did heed the demands of the movement and pass more progressive taxation. Sasha, I don't know if you have some thoughts on that. You'd like to come in.
Hi, yeah. Thanks everyone for being on the call this morning and speaking out to support the Amazon tax. We've been facing a housing crisis in Seattle for years now, and it gets worse every year. This Amazon tax, we could really reverse that process, fight for thousands of units of affordable housing in Seattle. And we should remember the impact that this has had, not just in Seattle, but around the country. People are fighting for similar taxes in California. People fought back against Amazon HQ2 in New York, that they would be getting a sweetheart deal. Inspiring people that, the problems that we're facing here in Seattle of housing crisis, of working people paying, huge taxes while big business and the rich are not paying into this, into our society while making huge profits. These are, things that are happening around the country and around the world. So our victory here can help, and defending our victory can help inspire people to fight for similar things that are needed around the country. I forget all of the questions that Adam asked. Let's see, some of the, I'll leave it at that for now. Adam, you're welcome to bring back in the other questions, but that's part of why the Amazon tax is so important.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And maybe, one of the things I was, driving at with the second of, I believe, 3 or 4 questions was, who are some of those people? And maybe Nick can come in. When we talk about how it is our movements that fight for and are really the driving force behind these victories, we are talking about ordinary working people. So I don't know if Nick, you've got, just some ideas of who are these organizations or ordinary working people. And it really does, come down to the basic needs of these community members, which count in the thousands, versus, what we're hearing time and time again from whether it's city council members saying, oh, it needs to be a regional solution, or state representatives, them telling city council members, as Shama experienced just last week, that, basically stay in your lane. This, what you're talking about has nothing to do with the state legislative agenda we're talking about right now. So who are who is the movement that, as we've seen time and time again, is actually the driving force that can break through these obstacles, this doublespeak, all this demobilizing rhetoric we hear from Democrats who in the state house appear not to be building a movement to actually fight for and win these things. Nick, if you can come in on that a little bit.
Sure, thanks, Adam. And thanks to everyone here today who's part of this. Definitely all the people watching are absolutely part of the movement that won the Amazon tax. And everyone's voice here is essential to making sure we not only defend what we've won, but ideally take things further. Like, it's clear we've made gains, but there's a lot more to win. And our Tax Amazon movement, was rooted foremost in what we call these action conferences, where it was a truly democratic space. Everyone can show up. Everyone has the right to make proposals or amendments and vote on the resolutions that were put forward there. And we had hundreds of people last year, before, well, during the pandemic as well over Zoom, but even before that, attending these action conferences to really, in a democratic way, get into the nitty gritty of discussing what our movement is fighting for, what we need, what we want our tax to look like. And yeah, that was, I think, some of the basis of the movement that was able to go on and win this Amazon tax, alongside, having a movement's voice in City Hall through Shama's office, also putting forward the need to tax big business at the same time, aspects of the same movement and the action conferences, organizations, including Socialist Alternative, fighting labor unions like UAW 4121, the Trains Riders Union, 350 Seattle People's Party, I believe, were all organizations that were involved essentially in building that movement. Just shows, alongside countless others, I couldn't name them all, but we had a lot of meetings in which everyone, there was just a wide array of organizations and community members who coming together to make sure we could fight for this thing, because there's no other way we're going to build affordable housing or win a Green New Deal or make sure Seattle hits its climate goals or really do anything that we need to do here without taxing big business and making the billionaires pay. I mean, the reality is, right, companies like Amazon are profiting massively off the current crisis. Like Amazon's profits last year were 84% higher than even they were in 2019. These corporations are profiteering off the pandemic. And at the same time, renters are more in precarity than ever, where people are falling behind on. I think the average back rent owed nationally is over $6,000 at that point for everyday working class people. I know, like, I couldn't pay that back. And there's just a huge need where our homelessness crisis is about to get even worse if we allow kind of nothing to happen. But at the same time, unless we, go forward, tax big business and fund things and try to use this massive wealth that's being created to fund community need, then I think we can only expect more dire consequences in the future. So that's just some thoughts on that. But I think these are absolutely things we should be saying to the city council. Like, there's no reason to oppose furthering tax on big business. Like, why are we defending corporate profits over the vast communities that we should be serving to try to meet their needs? And I think, yeah, there's no reason that we should be putting these record-breaking profits companies are making over the lives of everyday people in our communities. And I'll stop there. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Nick. And yeah, I really appreciate everybody who's here able to join us. So yeah, concretely in about 11 minutes, the public comment sign up period is going to open. And in reality, we can, this is the point of this meeting, is to kind of get that political context, pump ourselves up a bit to then, pressure city council. One way you can pressure city council, or maybe you already have, if we could share in the live streams the link to the email blast we just sent out, I believe on Friday, where just one click and you can send city council an email. Hundreds of people have already done that. Anybody who's watching right now, if you're able to multitask, you can send another email right before city council meets at 2 p.m. later on today. But again, we have to sign up in about 10 minutes is when we should begin doing that. And the point of our public comment is to reiterate, as the email blast states very clearly, that we want to say yes to progressive taxation, yes to taxing big business in the billionaire class, but no to using progressive taxation as a cover for undermining our historic Amazon tax victory, which we won, through the strength of our movement just over the course of the summer. It is really important, given that the point is to pressure city council. It's important to understand what city council members are saying right now. Now we've, reiterate over and over again, whether it's, the fight for 15 or the fight for rent control or the fight to tax big business to build housing, we've never had to go up against Republicans. It's always been, establishment Democrats who want to speak as though they're in favor of working people. But we know that thousands of rank and file Democrats, thousands of working people who vote Democrat want many of the things that our office puts forward, the movement put forward, but where Democrats without the pressure of a movement are not willing to support. So in terms of what we're fighting for right now, we want council members, they're saying this morning that that this is redundant, that the city council have already in December passed a state legislative agenda, and that's the way that the city council communicates with the state legislature. And then they talk about relationships that they have with different representatives. Now, obviously, our office takes very seriously the state legislative agenda. We participate in making the demands that the city council brings in that formal setting. We participate in making those as strong as possible in elevating the demands of the movement. But it is wrong to think that we can just just rely on those structures independent of the momentum and the force of the movement. It is wrong to think that that in and of itself will be sufficient to lead to progressive change. And we have the proof of the pudding in the eating right before us. The Democrats have been in power, historically speaking, as they are right now, for several years at a time. And yet Washington still has the most regressive tax structure in the entire country. We have had a city council office, Shama Sawant, the movement inside City Hall, putting forward time and time again, bold legislation that we only win on the basis of packing City Hall. If we can't pack City Hall, of calling City Council by the hundreds. We've seen in real life how the council members, absent that pressure, will always tend towards doing what is acceptable, quote unquote, to biggest business, to quote, they'll say, see all those stakeholders involved. And that ultimately does not result in the strongest, most progressive taxation. And it doesn't result in what working people need. So we don't want to accept the idea that, oh, the city council has already stated its position on this. If they have already stated their position on this, then there should be absolutely no problem heeding the advice of 250 plus people, and then behind them, thousands of people who want progressive taxation. What is the problem with saying, yes, I'll sign on to this. Yes, we support taxing big business, but not preempting. Similarly, when state legislators say this isn't an issue, you don't belong on the agenda, we've already stated our position. Well, as hundreds of people have already asked the state legislators to do, in that case, it should be no problem clarifying to our movement and then also to big business, who will continue to fight for it until you make it very clear, look, we know where community stands on this. We're not going to water down Seattle's Amazon tax. We're not going to touch that, but we will fight for progressive taxation. Until the movement gets that clarity, which we should be clear right here, they have refused to give. The Seattle City Council Democrats have refused to say they're going to support this resolution yet. The state legislators have refused to answer the simple question, will you commit to not preempting, not watering down? And given that fact, the movement must be on the alert. And for that exact reason, hundreds of people have emailed in. For that exact reason, we are so appreciative that people are watching today, that people are getting ready to sign up in 5 minutes for public comment. It is entirely possible that the council members will, as they indicated this morning, say that this is redundant. It's entirely possible they'll find a reason not to support this particular resolution. We should also remember last year when the council was under, when state legislators were overt, or they were open about the fact that they wanted to preempt the Amazon tax before we had even won it, in the idea that we would win some, equal tax from the King County Council, which was under no pressure at the time from the movement. We already saw the city council refuse to actually pass this resolution, but that of course made it all the more clear to our movement that we needed to keep fighting, and we did. We overcame numbers of obstacles so that when the George Floyd uprising exploded, we could get 30,000 signatures over the course of just days, put significant pressure on the council, and that movement with the voice of Shama Sawant and the movement inside City Hall was sufficient to win it. But now we know we've got to defend it, and it's going to be our movement that's going to do it. So thank you so much for joining us. We're just about 3 minutes out from noon. So everybody should please open up on your computer, the link, which we'll share in the live stream, or we already have. Nick, I believe, is about to take over here and himself open up that link so you can just basically see it. And then we're going to just click refresh, refresh, refresh. We're all going to just together basically sign up. And then, in 2 hours time, we're going to make it clear to the city council members why we don't think this is redundant. We know that council members, or we know that state legislators and big business behind them are entirely capable of putting in last minute, what are called poison pills. They do it all the time. And so we know that it is critical actually that council members state their position, that state legislators do the same. Nick, go ahead and take it from here, open up those pages, and let's get ready to sign up, everybody.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was muted. I have been here just refreshing this page. Hopefully everyone else can find the public comment again as well. If you're just joining us, just a quick demonstration, just type in public comment Seattle into your search browser, or Seattle public comment, doesn't really matter. Click this first link, should take you right to the page. And then we are waiting for this sign up sheet just to go live. As Adam was indicating, should be any moment now. It's about 11:58, sometimes a minute or so early. So I'll just sit here with y'all, seeing if we can get this to go live, and we can walk through it and make sure that some of the first folks sign up for public comment. Hopefully you're with us. And just some quick best practices while we're kind of going through this. Certainly something that can be very powerful, as I think Adam was even pointing to, is when you're giving public comment, introducing yourself and mentioning if you're from, a union, political organization, a community group, being able to speak saying, I'm from, a community or organization that is organized, and that there's others behind me when I want to lend my voice to this movement. It can be very powerful. I mentioned quite a few groups that were involved in building tax Amazon movement previously, but certainly that list I mentioned was close to exhaustive. DSA, for instance, Democratic Socialists of America, were very involved. So if you're from any of those groups, progressive labor unions, any labor union, bring that in. That's very powerful. And definitely, I think as Adam was saying, can also be very helpful for pressuring council members, just to, when you're beginning saying, thank you, Councilmember Swant, for bringing this forward. What that can do is really puts pressure on the council by showing that community members are listening and engaged, and that are paying attention to how they're voting and acting on the council, and if they're actually siding with working class people or not, and fighting for the things we need, like defending the Amazon tax. And yeah, it's something big business tries to do all the time. But certainly we can kind of do the same thing, except from a working class perspective. So I would say definitely those two things when you're starting out create a really powerful amount of pressure, stating what organization you're from. Thanking Council Member Swan is the movement's voice in City Hall for bringing this forward. And then, going into kind of the points that we've even kind of gone over so far in this meeting. Oh, it's live. There we go. All right, so your page should look like this now. Best you can, put in your first name, last name. It's important that with you putting your email address that you use one that is accurate and that you have easy access to. This is where they'll send you the Zoom link to get where you'll click to get on the call for public comment. So make sure that is accurate. The last 5 digits of your phone number. Make sure you recognize these numbers, because what's this one? Yeah, there we go. Because that's how you're going to be called, and they'll identify you in public comment. So make sure you have that all locked down. Then just click that, put in whatever you want here. I usually like to say something pertinent to what we're calling in about, just because they might not get to everyone in public comment, and it's often useful to they'll see this part. You can really make it clear that we're here specifically to fight to defend Amazon tax and support taxing business further. Then just hit submit, and you should get an email sent right to you, and we should be all good. And yeah, folks should have probably a minute, possibly two, to give public comments. So keep that in mind. And look forward to hearing everyone's public comment in just a moment here. Well, actually, it'll be at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. will be when the city council is. Sorry, I got a little excited about this meeting overall. You should just hit submit and then get back on at 2 p.m. To give your testimony before the city council.
All right, thank you, Nick, and thank you everybody for joining us on behalf of Councilmember Kshama Sawant, obviously Nick and Sasha as well. I just want to end by saying that, yeah, this public comment is critical. It's important, as are all the movement, all the actions that our movement does. And it's not just here in Seattle that we're fighting against, these pandemic profiteers, against politicians who won't take a stand on behalf of working people. In Alabama, we know that Amazon workers are making the courageous effort to unionize. So I just want to alert people to, we've got a press release that we just sent out, and maybe Nick or Sasha in the last minute here can put a link to our a blog post with that press release. We want to, workers at Amazon in Alabama see people fighting in Seattle. We know that the Amazon, the community members in Queens and New York City saw our Amazon struggle as they fought against Amazon's effort to basically extort $3 billion from them. Even when our Amazon tax had gotten repealed, people remember in 2018, we won a much smaller Amazon tax that got repealed. Even then, we saw in California and in other places, communities pass these taxes. So we know that our movement is contagious, but we also know that for that exact reason, big business and corporate politicians will always try to take back what we won. So we want our movement to defend these taxes. And if we are able to defend it, again, if we win this resolution or not, if we're able to pass this state legislative session, winning progressive taxes and defending our Amazon tax, that's good momentum for fighting for and winning even bigger things, which we know, of course, are necessary for working people to have the kind of life we lead or that we need. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. 2 p.m. We're looking forward to hearing some strong public comment in support of the Amazon tax. Yes to taxing big business. Yes to prevent progressive taxation, to billionaires paying taxes, but no to preempting or watering down the Amazon tax, which our movement won. So thank you so much for joining us. Solidarity.